In the mid-1980s, California was a place of dreams, golden beaches, sprawling suburbs, and a promise of safety in the glow of streetlights. But for 14 months, a shadow crept through that world, turning open windows into doorways of fear. Richard Ramirez, a young man shaped by pain and drawn to darkness, became the Night Stalker, a name that still chills the heart. His crimes stole lives, shattered families, and left a state trembling. Yet, this story isn't just about him, it's about the people he hurt, the survivors who carried on, and the communities that fought back. As we walk through this painful chapter, let's hold space for those who suffered, reflect on what led a boy to become a monster, and honor the strength it took to heal. Ricardo Leyva Munoz Ramirez came into the world on February 29, 1960, in El Paso, Texas, a leap year baby born to Mercedes Munoz and Julian Ramirez, Mexican immigrants chasing a better life. The youngest of 5, Ruth, Rosa, Robert, Joseph, and little Richie, he grew up in a modest home filled with the smells of Mercedes's cooking and the sounds of siblings' laughter. Mercedes, a gentle woman with a deep Catholic faith, worked long hours at a shoe factory, her hands stained from chemical VATs. Julian, once a policeman in Juarez, toiled as a Santa Fe railroad laborer, his dreams of stability shadowed by a temper that flared without warning. To the outside world, they were a hard-working family, but inside, the cracks were deep, and young Richard felt them most. Richard was a quiet, sensitive boy, with big eyes that seemed to carry unspoken questions. He adored his mother, trailing her through the kitchen, but his father's rage was a constant storm. Julian's discipline was harsh, belts, fists, and once, tying Richard to a pole in the backyard, leaving him to shiver in the desert night. To escape, Richard found refuge in a nearby cemetery, sitting among gravestones, where the silence felt kinder than home. Those moments of solitude, born of fear, began to shape him, whispering that the world was a place of pain. His childhood wasn't just marked by emotional wounds. At 2, a falling dresser struck his head, leaving him unconscious with a concussion. At 5, a swing at the park gashed his scalp, requiring stitches. These injuries led to temporal lobe epilepsy, and by elementary school, Richard was collapsing in seizures, his body betraying him in front of classmates. The stigma was heavy. His family, rooted in tradition, saw his condition as a private shame, and bullies taunted him as the freak. Neurologists later suggested those head traumas may have scarred his frontal lobe, the brain's compass for empathy and restraint, but back then, no one connected the dots. Richard was just a boy, hurting and unseen. By 10, he was retreating inward, sketching monsters from horror comics, his imagination a refuge from a world that felt unkind. School was a struggle, he lagged behind, his seizures and shyness isolating him. Then came his cousin Miguel Mike Ramirez, a figure who'd change everything. Miguel, a Green Beret back from Vietnam, was charismatic but broken, his eyes carrying the weight of war. To 12-year-old Richard, he was a hero. In the Ramirez backyard, Miguel shared stories of combat, describing how he killed and tortured, showing Richard Polaroids of raped and murdered Vietnamese women. These weren't just tales, they were a twisted education, teaching Richard that violence was power. He listened, wide-eyed, not with horror, but with a dangerous curiosity. The lesson became real in May 1973. Richard, 13, was at Miguel's apartment when an argument erupted. Miguel grabbed a .38 revolver and shot his wife, Jessie, in the face. Blood painted the kitchen, and Jessie's body fell, lifeless. Richard stood frozen. Miguel, eerily calm, told him to leave. Later, citing war-induced insanity, Miguel was sent to a psychiatric hospital. But for Richard, that moment was a spark. The sight of Jessie's blood didn't haunt him, it thrilled him, planting a seed that violence could define him. By his teens, Richard was unraveling. At 14, he started smoking marijuana, soon chasing highs with cocaine and LSD. He dropped out of Jefferson High School, his dreams fading as drugs took hold. To feed his addiction, he stole, first bikes, then cars, then breaking into homes. His Catholic roots clashed with a new obsession. He pored over occult texts, scrawled pentagrams on his skin, and found a dark anthem in AC/DC's Night Prowler. its lyrics about sneaking into homes echoing his growing urges. In El Paso, he felt caged, so in 1982, at 22, he fled to Los Angeles, a city of endless possibility in endless shadows. In LA, Richard was a ghost, a 6'1" drifter with matted curls and teeth rotting from cocaine. He drifted between Skid Row motels and drug dens, funding his habit with burglaries. The city's sprawling suburbs, with their trusting residents and open windows, were easy prey. But theft wasn't enough. On April 10, 1984, in San Francisco's Tenderloin, he committed his first known murder. Mei Leung, a 9-year-old girl with dreams of dancing, was lured to a hotel basement. Richard raped and stabbed her, leaving her tiny body hanging from a pipe. The brutality was unimaginable, the child's life snuffed out for no reason. Police had no leads, and the case went cold, letting Richard slip away. On June 28, 1984, he struck again in Los Angeles. Jennie Vincow, 79, a grandmother who knitted blankets for her family, lived alone in Glacel Park. Richard crept through her window, finding her asleep. He stabbed her repeatedly, nearly severing her throat, then looted her home. Her son found her the next day, his grief a wound that never healed. Jennie's death wasn't just a crime. It was the start of a nightmare that would grip California. By spring 1985, Richard's violence surged, each act more reckless. He didn't choose victims by type, like some killers. Men, women, children, the elderly, anyone could be next. He roamed at night, targeting homes with unlocked doors, wielding guns, knives, machetes, or tire irons. His attacks were swift, chaotic, blending theft, rape, and murder in a frenzy of cruelty. On March 17, 1985, in Rosemead, he broke into the condo of Dale Okazaki, 34, and Maria Hernandez, 22, two friends saving for a home. Maria entered the garage, and Richard fired, but the bullet miraculously hit her keys, sparing her. Inside, he shot Dale in the forehead, ending her life as she stood in her kitchen. Maria's survival was a flicker of hope, her description of a gaunt, foul-breathed man giving police a clue. That same night, in Monterey Park, he targeted Saileon Veronica Yu, a 30-year-old law student. He dragged her from her car, shooting her as she pleaded. Her family, devastated, clung to memories of her ambition. 10 days later, in Whittier, Richard entered the home of Vincent Ezera, 64, a retired pizzeria owner, and Maxine, 44, a vibrant mother. Vincent was shot in his sleep, his dreams of a cruise with Maxine stolen. Maxine fought back, reaching for a shotgun, but Richard bound and raped her, stabbing her and carving out her eyes, a horrific act he discarded in a dumpster. Their son Peter found them, his world shattered. The pentagram Richard left on their wall wasn't just a symbol. It was a taunt, amplifying the fear spreading through Los Angeles. The summer of 1985 was unbearable. In Monrovia, he attacked Mabel Mabel, 66, and her sister Florence Nettie Lang, 81, two kind souls who loved gardening. He beat them with a hammer, leaving them near death, and scrawled pentagrams in their home. Mabel passed weeks later. Florence survived, her spirit unbroken despite her injuries. In Glendale, he hacked Leela and Maxine Needing, both in their late 60s, with a machete, then shot them. In San Francisco, he targeted Peter Pan, 66, a gentle retiree, and his wife Barbara, 62. Peter was killed. Barbara, raped and shot, survived but lost her ability to walk. Each attack left families grappling with loss, survivors with scars no one could see. California became a state of locked doors and sleepless nights. The media's Night Stalker label captured the terror. Families stopped opening windows, children slept in parents' rooms, and gun sales spiked. Communities organized patrols, neighbors watching neighbors. The Los Angeles Police Department, led by Detective Frank Salerno, a fatherly figure with an act for complex cases, formed a task force with the FBI. Salerno, haunted by the Hillside Strangler case, poured his heart into the hunt, but Richard's randomness, striking from Arcadia to East LA to San Francisco, made him a phantom. On August 24, 1985, a 13-year-old boy, James Romero III, changed everything. In Mission Viejo, he spotted a man casing his street and memorized the license plate of an orange Toyota. That night, Richard attacked Inez Erickson, 29, and Bill Carnes, 30, shooting Bill and raping Inez. Both survived, Inez's courage giving police a detailed description. The Toyota, stolen, yielded fingerprints, and an Avia sneaker print tied Richard to San Francisco. On August 30th, police released his name and mugshot, his hollow face inescapable. Richard was in Tucson, unaware, visiting his brother. On August 31st, he returned to East LA, stepping off a bus into a neighborhood that knew his face. In a liquor store, whispers of El Matador, the killer, sent him running. Residents, fueled by anger and protectiveness, chased him through alleys. He tried to steal a car from Angelina de la Torres, but her husband, Manuel, fought back with a metal post. Neighbors joined, their blows a collective cry for justice. Police arrived, saving Richard from the crowd. Bloodied, he admitted, "It's me. I'm the Night Stalker," his smirk a final defiance. The trial, starting in 1988, was a painful reckoning. In Los Angeles Superior Court, survivors like Maria Hernandez and Inez Erickson faced Richard, their voices steady despite their trauma. Maria, now an advocate for victims, spoke of Dale's laughter. Inez described Richard's chilling grin. Evidence piled up, fingerprints, stolen jewelry, Avia prints. Richard, in black sunglasses, played the villain, flashing pentagrams and shouting "Hail Satan." His quip to reporters, "Death's just part of the deal," cut deep, a reminder of his callousness. Prosecutors, led by Phil Halpin, a meticulous attorney, wove a case that left no doubt. The defense claimed Richard's trauma, abuse, epilepsy, drugs, made him insane, but the jury saw through it. On September 20th, 1989, he was convicted of 13 murders, 5 attempted murders, 11 sexual assaults, and 14 burglaries. Judge Michael Tynan, a father himself, sentenced him to 19 death sentences, his voice heavy with the weight of the lives lost. Richard's parting words, "I'll be back," felt hollow. The families in the courtroom, clutching photos of loved ones, knew he'd never hurt again. At San Quentin, Richard was a caged enigma. Death row's stark cells couldn't dim his strange allure. Thousands of letters arrived, many from Doreen Lee, a reserved editor from Burbank, was different. She saw misunderstood so. In 1996, they married in prison, Doreen in a weight dress, Richard in. Psychologists called it hybristophilia, but to Doreen, it was devotion, unwavering until his health failed. 2013, at 53, he was diagnosed with B-cell lymphoma. On June 7th, he died in a hospital, the executioner's needle needed. For some, like Peter's Ezra, who lost his parents, it was closure. Others, like Inez Erickson, felt justice was incomplete. Yet all carried the weight of survival, their resilience a quiet triumph. Richard's crimes reshaped California. They stole the innocence of open windows, but they also showed humanity's strength. East LA's residents, James Romero III's quick thinking, Maria Hernandez's advocacy, these were lights in the dark. Documentaries like Netflix's Night Stalker and books like Philip Carlo's kept the story alive, not to glorify Richard, but to honor those who endured. What made Richard Ramirez? His father's fists, Miguel's blood-soaked lessons, a brain scarred by injury, drugs that numbed his soul. Each piece built the Night Stalker. His Satanism was less faith, more a mask for his pain. He wasn't a calculating psychopath like Bundy, but a sociopath, his rage erupting without plan. Experts like Dr. Scott Bond see a boy who might have been saved, but choices and scars led him elsewhere. It's a reminder that monsters aren't born, they're shaped, and perhaps, with different paths, could have been stopped. The true story lies with the victims. Mei Leung, 9, who loved to dance. Jennie Vincow, 79, whose blankets warmed her grandchildren. Dale Okazaki, 34, dreaming of a home. Silian Yu, 30, studying law. Vincent and Maxine's Ezra, planning a future. Mabel Bell and Florence Lang, sisters bound by love. Peter and Barbara Pan, whose quiet life was stolen. Their families carry their memories, their pain a testament to love's endurance. Survivors like Maria, Inez, and Barbara rebuilt their courage a beacon. The Night Stalker's shadow was brief but devastating, claiming 14 lives and wounding countless hearts. Richard Ramirez died without remorse, but his story isn't his alone. It's about the people who faced him, the communities that stood together, and the healing that followed. As we reflect, let's hold the victims in our hearts, learn from the past, and cherish the strength it takes to move forward. Thank you for joining this journey through a dark chapter. If it moved you, share it, subscribe, and tell us, what does this story teach us about humanity? Until next time, hold your loved ones close, and check your locks.